Good morning. I'm Frost Telegatis, the Director of Greater Virginia for ACC National Capital Region, and we're happy to have you all with us today. This is a program to give you more information about our Corporate Scholars program. That is paid internships working in an in-house corporate legal department with either a for-profit or not-for-profit entity. And Lucinda Rowe from AECOM and Richard Spitalnik from Red Cross in America have hosted interns recently. We also have some more recent interns. Daniel Enos worked for MAG Aerospace. Alicia Pitts, I don't recall who you worked for. Was it the Knot?
It was the Knot Worldwide.
All right, the Knot Worldwide. Yep. Elizabeth Farshon worked for Virginia Realtors, and she's on with us today. And also Lauren Farr. Lauren, tell me who you work for.
Gabriele, I'm on a meeting.
Rosetta Stone. All right. If you are not talking, please mute your sound. And now I'm turning the program over to Brandon Fitzgerald, who has been with this program since its inception and helped conceive the idea for
it. Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for joining. For those of you that are students or that are at corporations or that are part of the placement office. So what I'm going to do is we're going to keep this relatively informal and make sure we answer your questions. I'm going to, just in the interest of time, go through, so no offense to any of my co-chairs, but just to keep things simple, I'll run through some brief talking points, and then I'll ask various people who've participated in the program if they wanted to chime in with anything, and then we'll take questions. So the Corporate Scholars Program began in 2004 with a $10,000 grant from the Minority Corporate Counsel Association with the purpose of increasing diversity in the in-house bar. And it's interesting because the current head of the Association for Corporate Counsel, Vita Richardson, is the person who actually provided the grant to ACC NCR. We were called something different at the time for the funds for this program. So it's great to see it continue. So the program is going strong. There are over 180 alumni and over $1.5 million in stipends have been provided since 2004. The program defines diversity broadly. So we include race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, gender identity and expression, socioeconomic status, age, physical ability, and religious belief. And the program has had a lot of success. We have placed students at organizations like the Red Cross and Amtrak, Booz Allen Hamilton, Freddie Mac, General Dynamics Mission Systems, Hilton Worldwide, Lockheed Martin, MAG Aerospace, Rosetta Stone, the Special Olympics, Tesla, Vox Media, the Washington Post, and what was it? Not Delta, US Air, when it was actually based in DC. So there are many more companies, but that's just a few of the ones that we wanted to list. Typically, the class has 10 students from the law school partners in the area. And we include students in joint degree programs. Of course, full-time students are included, and also part-time law students are also welcome to participate. The experience is designed to last for approximately 10 weeks and is paid for with a grant from the Eileen G. Reed Corporate Scholars Fund, and that's administered by the Greater Washington Community Foundation. So we typically interview finalists in the last weekend in February, and our goal is to try to make sure we name the class as early in March as possible. If you're selected to participate and you are a corporation, we've designed a process where what happens is the committee will set up a match for students. Those of you at the corporation, of course, will get to meet the student, but then you get to approve or disapprove the match. And the reason that was set up in that way is we want to make sure that students from all of the law schools get a fair shot. And we were concerned that people would try to just pick the law schools where they were familiar with or where they happen to have alumni, and not making sure that they're giving students from all law schools an opportunity. So typically, we almost always have more corporations that want students than we can safely place. And so if you're interested, please make sure you get your application in sooner rather than later. You know, I am just very delighted in how much this program has grown. It's been a rewarding experience from all the feedback we get back from students, as well as individuals at the corporations and the mentors. So we are delighted that so many people have come through the program, and we've seen success in them being able to go in-house and start their careers in ways that many of us didn't quite imagine. So with that, what I'd like to do, and I apologize for this, but is to ask Angela Chicolo or Lusana Rowe as co-chairs of the program if there is anything they wanted to add. They both have had scholars multiple times.
Sure. Good morning. I'll start, and I will just thank everybody for being here this morning, and want to thank Brandon for all of his hard work in keeping this program running. I love this program. I've had 2 scholars in the past, and you know, I think that the companies and the attorneys who work with the ACC scholar benefit as much as the scholars themselves. I think every company is probably different, but we really try to give our scholars a broad range of activities to do. For example, we make sure that all of our scholars do at least, a couple of contract reviews. And of course, we have contract review guidance and people helping them along every step. There's also the standard legal, research memo that people do, and helping with like ongoing litigation, just reviewing maybe memos that our external counsel have, help with, or, doing some additional research on claims that may not have been assigned to external counsel yet. We also, try to get them to do some advice and counsel, if a question comes up, that relates to operations, that they could assist with, like a common example in the last couple of years would have been something related to COVID. There are also other activities, like just sitting in some client calls, client meetings where we're talking about legal strategy, or going to hearings, if it's possible and safe. So those are the types of activities, we have people do. And, as I mentioned, we get a lot out of it too, because, maybe it helps us, kind of remove a little bit of, burden on some, pressing, issues that may have some time sensitivity. So we think it's a great program, and I definitely, I'm glad to see that there's so many people who are interested. I do think it's a great way to get some like real practical hands-on experience. I think all of the attorneys who, participate in this program participate because they want to help law students, especially, the law students who are, eligible to apply for this program. So I think it's great, and I'm glad to see all of you, and I'll turn it over to maybe Angela if she has any comments.
Oh, thanks, Lusana, and thanks, Brandon and Frost. It's really good to see all of you and to know about your interest in this program, which I think is one of the finest programs that any bar association offers, from what I've seen. One thing that I think that's just incredible is it gives students an opportunity to see a different practice area that they might not know is available to them, and that's in-house practice. So in-house practice can give a new attorney, I think, just an incredible, not only incredible career, but an incredible opportunity to work as a business partner and to really learn and understand how a client operates within all aspects of their businesses. We treat our scholars just like a first-year attorney. We've had them take people up to the UN for testimony, travel, write really incredible contracts working with artists, or just working on corporate governance and issues that we deal with on an everyday basis. But what I think I'm proudest most of all is that many students who may not have been introduced to the law through family connections or other connections, who perhaps are first generation college students or first in their family to move forward in their education, find a great place where their particular viewpoints, skills, abilities are really appreciated. And the law has room for everyone. And that's what makes this program so great, is that every student can demonstrate their diversity and be part of an inclusive team. So I have nothing but positive things to say about our scholars, and I hope that everyone will take part because you won't regret it.
I thank you, Angela. And I know Special Olympics, where you are the general counsel and chief legal officer, has hosted many, many scholars. I wanted to give an opportunity to Rich Botownick to speak because I understand he needs to drop off early. Rich has helped us interview for a couple of years and has had scholars placed with American Red Cross where he works.
Thanks, Frost. Yeah, I'll echo what Lasana and Angela both said, and Brandon, of course. It's a tremendous program. I just wanted to say a couple words just from the perspective as a host and as someone who has been involved for a number of years at the Red Cross in running our internship program. Just to say that the program, just from my perspective as a host, has been a tremendous help to me. It's made my life a lot easier. We've had two terrific candidates, two of the best interns that we've had since I've been involved in our internship program. And when I say made my life easier, both, I mean, with the selection process, because we're always struggling to find good interns. Not that there aren't, there's almost too many good candidates, and we wound up interviewing a ton of people. With the actual work, I've gotten just terrific feedback. I obviously have worked with our two corporate scholars when they were at the Red Cross, and also from, part of my role in our internship program is getting feedback from other attorneys and other people in the Red Cross, and just gotten nothing but, rave reviews from those people. And I think they were also the two candidates we had were they selected us in addition to us in addition to the ACC placing them with us. So they were very happy to be there. So yeah, nothing but great things to say about the program. Happy to be involved with it. I was very happy to have our two candidates, and hoping we get one this summer as well.
I hope we find a match as well.
So thanks, Rich, for sharing, and I'm glad to see you. I'm glad you could give us a little bit of time today. And so, as Rich is part of the committee, as are Lasana and Angela. And I want to give Daniel Enos, who's also a member of the committee, a chance to speak and share his thoughts with us this morning.
Hi, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining. I'm especially excited to see this group of students interested in being scholars. I can share my perspective, and which is a little bit unique. I was sitting in your shoes at one point. I was a scholar back in, I believe it was 2019. I was placed with MAG Aerospace, and I'm happy to share my experience and just the overall experience with the program, because I think it's a wonderful opportunity for each of you. I think when I reflect upon my experience, I break it down as essentially 3 pillars. The first of which is to be open. When I say be open, I came from a background where I was doing a lot of nonprofit work and not in the in-house capacity. We're talking about like advocacy. I was interested in immigration law. And then I was placed at MAG Aerospace. Aerospace defense, it's quite different from immigration law. But I went in with an open mind. I was excited to do it. And I had a wonderful experience. To echo some of the things that have been said already, I was part of the team. I was meeting with the general counsel. They threw me into as many contracts as I wanted. You're not going to be sitting there, reviewing emails or printing out documents or filing. People are happy and they welcome the support. So you're going to get real skills and real experience. And I think that's why my next pillar would be just to engage. Talk to your bosses and show what you're interested in. Let them know, hey, I want to get more experience in the compliance department. I want to get more experience with contracts. They're going to listen to you and they're going to give it to you because they're happy to see that engagement. Even if it means, hey, I'm not super familiar with this, but I want to sit on a phone call, listen in, let them know, and they're going to be happy to do that. And I suppose the next pillar for me would be take initiative. One of the things that helped me out was I would listen and see a need and be like, hey, I was on that call with you. I heard that someone wanted a memo. I took first stab, drafted it. Here you go. What do you think? And it made a huge difference. And my employers became mentors to me and my friends. And I was fortunate enough to be in a position where they then offered me a job. And to this day, I still work for MAG Aerospace and part of their in-house counsel department. So it's been a wonderful opportunity. I report now directly to the general counsel, and they're still my mentors and want to see me grow. So I have a wonderful experience. And I really just think that if you are selected, take all the advantage you can, be engaged, ask questions, and you're going to see yourself grow tremendously. So can't thank the program enough. And I'm happy to answer any questions. Shoot me a note if you have any questions. If you're not comfortable speaking up today, I'm happy to talk to you.
And let me just throw this in. Daniel is one of our home run hitters because he joined the program as a 1L, and MAG Aerospace had never hosted an intern before from us. And it was such a good match that they did make him a final job offer and waited for him to finish law school and pass the bar. That is rare. That is not something that you should expect if you become a scholar. We love for it to happen. However, it's more likely that you will just get great experience and not have a job offer at the end of your summer. So that's it. Brandon, do you want to say anything else?
No, I think we have two other people who've had experience with the program. So I want to give them a chance to speak and then open up for questions. So next, Elizabeth Farshon. Elizabeth, would you like to share a little bit about your story program?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a very recent scholar. I was part of the class of 2021. So this past summer, I worked with Virginia Realtors, and I would love to echo everything that's been said. It was a great experience. I think for me, a lot of what I took away was, first of all, not only did I get to learn about in-house practice and working with Virginia Realtors, I also got to learn about real estate as well a little bit. So it was kind of unique that I learned about, governance, what does the board of directors do, what kind of contracts does the association need reviewed, but kind of parallel to that, I was also learning about what issues in real estate law were pertinent to the membership. So it was a very unique experience, especially for someone like me. I didn't really know much about in-house counsel before or real estate. And then my other big takeaway was just this program is really unique in that not only do you work with your placement, you also have access to a lot of programs and such through ACC, NCR. Like, for example, we had the opportunity to meet with scholars from other areas, which was really interesting, and to hear about people working in all sorts of departments, not only our class, but other classes as well. And those kind of networking opportunities were definitely a highlight of the program for me. I wouldn't have had such a large exposure without ACC. And I think that's something that makes the program unique and very helpful.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And so next, I would like Alicia, if you could share your comments and perspectives.
Sure. Yeah, I agree with everything that's been said so far. I was Also a 2021 scholar, so just finished this summer. I was with the Not Worldwide, which was a very interesting and fun placement. I had a great summer, got exposure to so many different types of law, and what really excited me about it was seeing how the small group of attorneys for the company were really jack of all trades in the law, and they got lots of questions from all different areas, all different parts of the company constantly, and how they had to, it was really exciting to see how you're constantly learning as an in-house counsel, and you're always, it keeps you on your toes and keeps you a challenge to always be learning something different in different types of law. At least it was for me watching, and I'm lucky enough that I'm still clerking with the company right now in the fall, really enjoying it. But yeah, the program just really gave me a lot of exposure, like Elizabeth said, and kind of opened my eyes to a whole new world of law that I had never considered before and really thought about or knew a lot about, and really just geared my interest in this side of law and business. And the company I was with got a lot of exposure to the business side as well. We got to meet with the CEO individually and got meetings with the head of each department of the company. So really diving into the all the different areas of the company was really interesting, and very appreciative of the whole program as a whole.
Thank you. And I think our sort of our last person to sort of share experience before we open it for questions is Lauren Farrar. So Lauren.
Sure, thanks. Yeah, as everyone has been saying, I definitely echo all the same remarks. It's a fantastic program. I loved every minute of it. I was part of the 2020 class. So I was in the COVID class. That was right when everything was starting to go virtual. A very unique summer. I had never done anything virtually before, so a lot of learning that summer, but it was absolutely fantastic. What I really loved about the program was there were sort of two elements to it. There was a lot of professional development that you did through the program with your fellow scholars. It was a great, despite us having to figure out the virtual thing, it was really fantastic networking. I got to know some great people and remain in touch with them. And so that part was great. And then the internship, and I got to work for Rosetta Stone and got to meet a lot of wonderful people who, as you've heard others saying, are truly interested in making sure that you get the most out of your summer, that you learn a lot. You get to do a lot for them, do a lot of substantive work, but they really do prioritize you being a student as well and getting to learn. So I got to sit in on anything I was interested in pretty much. I had some attorneys ask me, what kind of stuff are you interested in? And they would kind of cater projects toward my interests. Another thing too, that's, just inevitable when you're a young attorney interning or doing anything like that, is you also learn things that you don't want to do, which is always helpful. I learned that securities is not up my alley that summer. So I got to learn a lot about what I did like, the stuff that maybe isn't for me. Overall, it was just a fantastic summer. I felt like I learned so much. Can't say enough good things about it.
Well, thank you, Lauren. And so with that, we're going to open it for questions. I am going to speak a lot less because I've spoken plenty. And so I would encourage those of you who are a part of the committee, the co-chairs or former scholars, to definitely chime in whenever questions come up. So. You can raise your hand or take yourselves off mute.
Segev, you can go ahead.
Hi, I want to ask I'm a law student at George Mason. I want to ask the alumni what motivated them to apply to the corporate scholar program specifically, like why this program as opposed to everywhere else?
I can give my answer anyway. I applied because it was something different that I had never done before. And I really came into law school. It's a second career. I had a career in law enforcement prior, and I wanted to set a goal to do basically the furthest thing from criminal law that I could, to learn something new. And I am so glad that I did, because I really enjoyed everything that I did this summer. And yeah, that was my motivation, was to do something completely different that I've never done, so I can expose myself to different areas of law that I hadn't necessarily considered.
Yeah, similar to that, I kind of just saw the posting on my law school's careers page, and I thought, this is something that I hadn't really considered. And I decided to apply. It was a good timing, in my opinion, for the application. And then the more I learned about the program through the application process, I got more and more excited. And it's one of the best decisions I've made, just to kind of take that jump into a career field that maybe I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, for me, there's another avenue to it as well, in which the in-house market is pretty competitive, and it presented an opportunity that normally probably wouldn't be available to me. I didn't need, a lot of people go to big law first and they go to in-house. So it's nice just to get that experience right off the bat. And it sets you apart as a future candidate for employers, because you can say, hey, listen, I already have this experience of in-house counsel, and someone already mentioned, it makes you a jack of all trades because you put a lot under your belt. So for me, I was just happy to say, this is an advantage. I don't want to miss the opportunity. So I definitely recommend pursuing it.
I think for me, it was probably being part of such a well-established program. So, you know, not only do you get to work a fantastic internship with a great company, but you also get a ton of professional development and networking opportunities. You know, there's a whole lot of good stuff that comes with it, other than just the internship itself. And through to be very helpful, fun, helped me establish lots of great relationships with other attorneys. So I think kind of the supplemental stuff to the internship was a big deal.
That's great. And on that note, I wanted to tell you that your moment to begin your network starts now. So if anybody on this call wants to reach out to me through LinkedIn and connect, I have a huge network that is at your service. I think Brandon Fitzgerald, Lucana Rowe, Rich Vitalnik, and Angela Sicolo would also second that. So don't be shy. Just say in your comment that you met us on this call and you would like to connect to our professional networks. I believe Rachel is waiting patiently. Rachel, what's your question?
Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm a 1L at University of Baltimore. I was just wondering when we should apply. I know I don't have grades yet until around January, so I didn't know if you think we should wait until we get those grades back, or if we should apply now and then just add them later to the application.
I'll take that one, because that comes up every year. 1Ls can apply. I believe they have to wait until a certain date in December for some other reason, and that we know you don't get your grades until after our deadline passes. Our deadline this year is January 7th. What we ask of 1Ls is to list the courses that you are taking on your application and send all that in by the deadline, then supplement it with your grades once you get them.
Thank you.
Nicole, I believe you have a question.
Yes, I do. So first of all, thanks to all of you for your efforts to make this program successful. It truly is wonderful to meet individuals that are interested in advancing access to education and employment. So I have two questions. My first question is about the match process. I imagine that it's mainly based on students' interests and company missions, but is there another factor that's taken into account?
There are many factors. Would anybody who has matched like to talk about this? Brandon?
So thank you for the question. You know, what I would say is we certainly do. That's one of the things in the application. We ask each student to list their desired preferences. We typically list the companies. When you interview, we list the companies on the sheet. They're on sort of a no-name basis, because what we found is that people often go for the company that's got the big name, but that may not offer you the best experience. And sort of that dovetails into your question. We ask students to let us know which opportunities look like they make sense. And then we rely upon our experience and our network and our having done this for years to figure out where the match might be. So for example, you've had former scholars say, I was open to learning a new area of law that I didn't think about, right? So you may go in thinking, I want to do X. We may match you with another company because we see that that may round out your resume, or that may give you exposure, or it may give you, a leg up, in the application process when you're applying for jobs the next year. So as Frost said, we really try to take a holistic approach in terms of figuring out what's really best. And one of the other things, of course, we include is location and travel. Sometimes students say, I want to work at this place, but that's going to be a long commute. So we may check in with the student and ask a question. We might have another placement that if you don't have a car and you're not willing to rent one, that might be better for you. So we look at student interest certainly, but we take a wide variety of factors into play, including who's at the company. Maybe you're an introvert. Maybe that means that you need a mentor at your company who's maybe got a similar personality. I'm just making that up. But so the thoughts about the matching, the process really goes into a lot of detail, and there's extensive conversation about the kinds of things that make a successful match. I hope that answered at least, I think you had 2 questions. I hope that answered the first part of the question.
And can I just say, before you get to the second question, Nicole, you're not allowed to pick who you're matched with, but you do get an opportunity to meet with them and approve or disapprove of the match. We've never had anybody disapprove of a match from the student side. And of course, there's always a first time for everything. But if that were to happen, we would find the scholar another host company. Last year, we had 43 companies that wanted to host, and we had 10 interns. So there were plenty of other choices if one was not going to work out. And during the pandemic, a couple of hosts had to back out for financial reasons. That, I believe, happened with Lauren. Her initial placement got scotched, and we ended up getting her one that worked out really great. Okay, Nicole, what's your second question?
Great, thanks so much. That was really helpful. And my second question is for the alumni, and I think that you all have already started to get into this, but because we shouldn't, come into this program assuming that we'll have a job offer afterwards. If you can just talk a little bit more, if there's anything that you all haven't mentioned, how this has helped you open doors or have helped you in interviews post-graduation, that would be really helpful to me.
I can start. I think Alicia mentioned that she's clerking with her placement too this semester, and I am as well continuing to work with my placement. The match worked out so well that we both decided to keep going. So that helps me. I think the first way is I get some credit, and that's a requirement for my degree program, and I keep learning more and more about the association because certain things happen on a specific timeline. So I've gotten to see some events that I wouldn't have been able to work on just because of timing before. So that helps me in that way. And then I also think, I don't have any facts to back this up, but I would assume that having the continuation has helped me in securing my job for next summer. I've already secured my job. Just employers seeing that I had this summer job, the placement went well, it's in-house, that's a rare opportunity. I do think that played a factor in me securing a job early enough for next summer. Again, I have no data to back that up, but I have my suspicions.
Thank you. That does help. Thank you. I appreciate it.
I'll just add that like Elizabeth said, I think it definitely helped me with whenever I was interviewing for 2L summer jobs. And it was a huge conversation starter. Like every single time I went in an interview, it was, oh, wow, tell me about this program. That's so awesome. And like, they were so excited to hear about that experience. And it was such an easy thing to talk about because I enjoyed it so much and I was staying on, and it was just a huge benefit, I think, in the interview process, because it gives you real substantial work experience to talk about from your summer, but also is just such a unique thing that a lot of people haven't done. And even your interviewers themselves haven't done and don't have that experience. So I found they were really interested in what I did and really wanted to hear about it. I even had one jokingly ask me if the Knot was hiring so they can go work for them. But that's how much like I praised the program, and because it really was so good and the company was such a great match for me. But it was definitely a conversation starter and something that definitely helped me during interviews to secure my second year job.
I think I might be able to offer a slightly different perspective because I did not continue working with my company, but ended up having really great relationships with the attorneys, and they actually helped me secure my job now. Right now, I'm a judicial law clerk. In the summer, I had kind of mentioned I was interested in doing that. And they said, oh, well, you need to talk to this person. She interviews people who come work here. She has a lot of experience with that. She'll be able to kind of prep you and help you. And she did. She was wonderful, very, very helpful. They gave me letters of recommendation. So it ended up still being a really fantastic resource to finding the job that I'm in now. And like I said, I continue to remain in contact with them. So there are a lot of different ways that this can really help you with job opportunities.
Thanks so much.
I see that we have some potential host companies on, and if you have a question, we will be happy to answer your question. A lot of past hosts did not realize that this is paid for by a grant from ACC National Capital Region. And that was a big eye-opener to them and boosted our host applications. The host applications go through the end of January. We have a little bit longer deadline on those. And we're happy to answer any potential host questions. And there's also several representatives from law schools on. If you have questions about the process, sometimes it's confusing when we say 1Ls and 2Ls certainly can apply. 3Ls who are in a joint degree program or on a part-time basis and are not scheduled to graduate in the spring, they may apply as well. Josh from UDC, what's your question?
My question is to the alumni. I was wondering if you could share just like one thing that you learned about yourself during your experience, and I guess one memorable moment that you experienced.
I can start. I think something I learned is that I like group work a lot more than I thought I did. I kind of had, when I went into law school, just this bad picture of group work from bad experiences in college. I had kind of a bad attitude about it, but I had a lot of opportunities to work with other interns in my job that I had with ACC, and I ended up leaving with a really great attitude about it. It was fun. I learned a lot. We actually, I think one of my favorite things that we did was me and the 2 other interns got to put together a presentation for the entire legal department on COVID standards, federal, state. This was all kind of new, and the company really wanted to know what the legal implications were going to be as far as employment goes, and lots of other things. So we got to work together, do some research, put together a presentation, and kind of brief the legal department on what to expect with that. It was a lot of fun. Again, like I said, I left with a much better attitude about group work, and I'm hoping that I get to do those kinds of projects in the future too.
I'll share my memorable moment. Probably my first day, I got a pretty large project looking at specific employment laws in 16 different countries, and then putting a presentation together based on that information. And in my thought process and listening, I knew I had a week to do this project. And I was like, okay, this is a lot of work in a week. What am I going to do? Like, how do I start this? Where am I going to start? A lot of these laws are in different languages. How am I going to translate this? And finally got a good handle on it within the next day. And then whenever I had my meeting the next week, I gave my information and showed them what I had, come up with. And they looked at me and they're like, this is just a check-in. This was your whole summer project. This wasn't supposed to be done within a week. And I was like, okay, I'm going to make sure that I clarify whenever I hear a week. So that's one thing I learned. And my memorable moment for the summer is I finished that project very quickly, a lot quicker than expected. But of course was working a lot more than they were probably expecting me to work that first week to try and make sure I got that done. So I learned to always verify my timelines, and that was my little memorable moment. But like I said, the program gives you exposure to so many different things. I never thought I'd be, especially as someone who just finished their 1L summer, looking at all these international employment laws. So it was really good exposure. And yeah, that was my memorable moment. I probably will never forget that because I learned a very valuable lesson.
Hey, Joshua, I'll do my memorable moment. It's something I learned. One thing that I definitely want to pass on for something I learned is keep the positive attitude. You already seem like you have a positive attitude. That made a difference in my office. And I remember my bosses saying they noticed when I was gone, because I was usually laughing and trying to get people to do team dinners and things like that. It makes a difference if you're the person showing up that's, in a positive mood, uplifting people. So keep that in mind, because it does help and people take note rather than, let's say, an intern that looks angry all the time. So you will make a difference with your colleagues. And my most memorable experience was going back to when I was saying be open. I just will never forget. I was an intern, and the general counsel was like, listen, Daniel, we're going to send you to Dubai if you'd like to meet with this foreign official. He's like, I can't make it. It'll be an awesome opportunity. Why don't you go for it? I know that's a unique experience, but just be open-minded, and it's something I definitely won't forget for sure.
I was going to say one of definitely what I learned, first of all, about myself is just how to work well remotely this past summer, because before law school, I'm just so used to seeing people, and obviously their reactions in this past year, we haven't been able to do that. So when to check in online, and also when to not, how to check a calendar well to not chat someone while they're teaching all day, or something like that. Some of the attorneys would teach and I'd say, I sent this to you. So I definitely had to learn that. And then a memorable moment, I almost had the opportunity to work on an amicus brief, but we had this member come in and I started doing research and everything, and had a meeting about what would need to be written, and I started really working at it, but it had not been officially approved that we were going to write it. So I did, a day and a half of research before we even knew we needed to do that assignment. So that was a memorable moment, and I learned I needed to make sure I was using my time well on things that we actually needed to do.
That seems to be a bit of a common theme. Is just to clarify, you always want to make a good impression, and the chances are that you will overdo rather than underperform. Samira, you have a question.
So I have a question from the perspective of a host for the alumni. If there is anything that your host companies did that you found particularly helpful, or conversely, anything they did that you did not think was helpful that you'd be willing to share. I think Lisa mentioned meetings with, including with senior management and the CEO. Anything else sort of along those lines that really stood out to you?
What was particularly helpful to me is whenever I sat in on a committee meeting, usually the general counsel here would meet with me after, kind of maybe just even a 20-minute meeting to be like, okay, this is what happened. This is why it's important to our association. Just so if I watched a board of directors meeting, I got out of it, what I needed to. So that was really helpful to me, in addition to the weekly kind of check-ins I had with her.
Something I really liked was they had everyone on the legal team do a one-on-one right off the bat, just to kind of chat, get to know each other a little bit. That was particularly helpful because that was right when everything was going virtual. So it was kind of hard to get to know people otherwise anyway. So I really thought those one-on-ones were nice. It really showed me that they were interested in getting to know me a little bit. It made me feel more comfortable about reaching out to them for work projects or asking for help on something. So I thought that was really nice.
Another thing that I thought was really interesting with my company was they had their own internal intern program where each department had interns, and they gave us a summer project for that as well. So I was working, and it really showed how legal is really integrated into every aspect of the company. So getting to do this summer intern project that the company was hosting, as well as the specific legal program that I was doing with the legal department, I thought was a really unique opportunity to see how you really intertwine with everything within a company. And then, as well as, like I mentioned, we had meetings with the CEO. We had access to all the heads of each department. We also had one-on-ones with each attorney. Another thing I thought was really helpful was the attorneys were willing and did put me in contact with other attorneys in other areas. They're like, okay, obviously you're a 1L, you're exploring a lot of different interests and areas. Are you interested in anything else? Can I make a connection for you? And like, we're very open and sharing their contacts and other aspects, so I can ask questions to attorneys in all different kinds of areas that I may not otherwise have had. So them being willing to do that during this program was really helpful as well.
I know something that really helped me was in terms of contracts, my mentor sat me down and he first started off with an NDA in which he went through line by line and explained why he was making certain red lines and what the greater impact was. And so I had that understanding from his perspective. Then the next contract, let's say it was another NDA that came up, I took pen to it. And then I had to meet with him and describe why I made certain red lines, and he would challenge me. That made a huge difference, where by the time I was interacting with other internal clients, I could explain why I was making the red lines, and I could then go back and forth in negotiations because I had that knowledge and that competence. So if you have the bandwidth to meet with your potential scholar, that makes a huge difference to explain why you're making certain edits and certain red lines, because it will go a long way, at least it for me.
Well, that sounds great. We have time for one more question. If anybody has a question, I believe that Brandon mentioned our timeline for interviews. This year, the interviews, if you are selected as a finalist, will take place on February 19, which is a Saturday, and possibly February 20th. if we have a lot of people to interview. Probably some of the folks that are on this call that have hosted before will be interviewing. There will be a panel of 2 or 3 for every team to interview. And then after that, within a week, you will know if you have been selected for our program. Once we select you, we ask that you commit, and then we match you. Because as I said, the primary goal is not the match, because we have plenty of matches out there, but that you will commit, forsaking all others, to our program once we make you the offer. Okay, last question.
Hey, Frost, if there's not a question, I would just want to make a few comments about the application process, if that's okay. Just having been a reader for many years for this program. Sure, I would just encourage all of you to, take the time you need to complete the application. I will say that I do know that all of the readers take, sufficient time and care in reviewing all of them. We want to get to know you a little bit. And so to the extent that you can just give us, a good understanding of, why you're applying, that's appreciated. And then of course, I actually do read all of the writing samples and mark them up if I need to. So just keep that in mind, that it's just not a cursory, writing sample that you're committing, because all of the attorneys who likely will, be hosting want to make sure that you can write clearly and effectively. So it doesn't have to be a complicated subject, but it does have to be, written well. So just make sure that you do put some time and care into that. And I can say that, seeing some of the alumni on here, I actually remember even years after, many of their applications. I can tell you where Elizabeth worked, during college. And, I think that, yes, and she worked a lot, which really stood out to me. So I can tell you that it does make a difference. So just, keep that in mind when you're preparing your applications, because it will, give you a step up.
I couldn't agree more. And the personal statement is extremely important. That is your opportunity to shine. Show us your personality. Tell us a little bit about why you're here, why you're in law school, why you want to be in our program, and show us what matters to you in your life. Those are very important. And please do not start it in a boring 1, 2, 3 recital of, this is important because, I know you can do better. You're very creative. You're very smart because you're already in law school. And I want to see what you got. And that will help our screener, who looks at every application, decide who we're going to interview.
Okay, well, it looks like we don't have any more questions. So I'll just take a moment to thank Lusana and Angela, Daniel, Rich, Lauren, Alicia, and Elizabeth for coming today, participating and sharing your stories, and also helping to volunteer with the program. And of course, want to thank Frost for all her effort. Frost does a lot of the work to put things together for the program and keeps things moving. So I want to always thank her for her efforts. And Frost, I'll turn it over to you as the last words.
Okay. Well, I hope to see every name on here in the application pool. Please try to get all your things in on time, because if your application is still in a draft position and not submitted, you will not be considered. I send out warning letters to this effect, and I also can add to it after the deadline, but I can't reopen it. So if you don't have your grades or all of your grades, if you don't have your letter of recommendation, those are easy to add to it after you have submitted it. Don't worry about that. And I hope to see a lot of you on the day that we interview. Our interviews this year for health and safety reasons will be virtual. It will be on Zoom, just like we are now. So you won't have to travel, and we can accommodate your schedule because we have 2 days. So if you have questions in the meantime, don't hesitate to reach out to me, and I look forward to connecting with all of you on LinkedIn. Thanks for your interest in our program.